Hi, it's Gwyn and welcome back to the Revolver Beatles Channel, your home for all things Beatles and beyond. Today, we're diving into one of Paul McCartney's most emotional and underrated solo singles, No More Lonely Nights. Released in 1984, this power ballad showed McCartney at his most heartfelt, and it features one of the most surprising guitar solos in his solo career. Stick around as we try to unpack its origins, its charts performance, the critics' view, and why it deserves a second listen today. Is this an overlooked grade A McCartney classic, or is it sugary sweet Schmaltz used as a marketing tool to promote McCartney's great folly? Let's take a look. No More Lonely Nights was written and recorded for Paul's 1984 film project, Give My Regards to Broad Street. Though the film itself received a lukewarm reception, the song quickly stood out as a highlight. Critics and fans alike agreed it was classic McCartney, and yet it's still seldom mentioned in the same breath as other McCartney classics. The song is a lush, melancholic ballad, beautifully arranged and featuring one expected guest on lead guitar, that being David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. That soaring guitar solo is pure Gilmour magic, layered perfectly over McCartney's smooth vocals and soft piano. Gilmour, an old friend of Paul's, plays a sublime solo here, eclipsing the McCulloch solo of My Love in my view, and elevates this song into a true classic territory. It's a fascinating blend, Beatle melody, Floydian guitar and 1980s production sheen, and it came at a crucial time in Paul's career. The single was released in September 1984 and came in more than a few versions. This should really be considered the start of the multi-format release programme. Paul was throwing the kitchen sink at the single in terms of promotion and trying his utmost to attain a #1 single to act as a push of momentum for his forthcoming movie. The most familiar is the ballad version, clocking in at just over 4 minutes. But fans will also be aware that there were also dance remixes released by Arthur Baker, including the play-out version which appeared on the soundtrack album. So in terms of release formats, here we go. September the 24th saw the release of a regular 7-inch single featuring the ballad on the A-side and the play-out version on the B-side. On the same day, a 12-inch single version was released with an extended play-out version clocking in at some 8 minutes 10 seconds with additional percussive patterns and some very 10cc backing vocals courtesy of Eric Stewart and Linda. The B-side featured the ballad version and silly love songs from the Broad Street movie soundtrack. October the 8th saw the picture disc release, and this was released obviously to boost sales, but it's actually quite a nice picture disc version. October the 29th, and not content with 2 12-inch releases so far, there was another featuring another extended mix of the play-out version, clocking in at 6 minutes 55 seconds, but this time it was remixed by the renowned DJ Arthur Baker, who put his own spin on the track. The Arthur Baker remix was also released on a 7-inch version, just in case you wanted it on that as well. Some of you may have been lucky enough to get your hands on a further 12-inch version as well. The Mole Mix was a single-sided pressing for DJs and was limited to just 300 copies, each specially numbered, and this is now something of a collector's grail piece. As if that wasn't enough, EMI pressed a large proportion of the original 7-inch single with a spelling mistake, putting lonely rather than lonely on both sides of the single. And as a bit of an afterthought, Paul sanctioned the inclusion of the play-out version onto the very successful album compilation series, Now That's What I Call Music, this being number 4. This was released on the 26th of November 1984. For me though, while I love the song and at the time was compelled to buy all the variants I could, this did mark something of a turning point for single releases. We were entering an era where a 7-inch single couldn't sit on its own. It would be accompanied by a plethora of other 7-inches, 12-inch singles, picture discs, cut-out discs, remixes, you name it. Record collecting would never be the same again. But as you can see, I was absorbing these releases like a sponge. But my dedication clearly wasn't enough to push Paul to the summit of the UK charts, as Stevie Wonder and I Just Called to Say I Love You kept him at bay. And while I love Stevie Wonder, why did this song have to be his first solo UK #1? Despite the remix, it's the original version, the ballad, that captured the most attention, with Paul's vocal performance often described as one of his most vulnerable post-Beatles efforts. No More Lonely Nights performed well internationally, especially considering the underwhelming performance of the film it supported. In the UK, it reached #2 on the singles chart. In the US, it peaked at #6 on the Billboard Hot 100. It also reached #1 on the USA Adult Contemporary chart, Paul's 9th time topping that list in particular. It marked McCartney's return to the top 10 in America and his first solo top 10 hit there since 1983's Say 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 with Michael Jackson. Paul released a corresponding music video to exploit the MTV generation, with Paul singing from a London rooftop, interspersed with clips from the movie. Even from watching the video, including the many Broad Street clips, you wonder just how all these random set pieces are drawn together into a cohesive film. The answer was that they weren't, but that's a story for another video. Critics had mixed feelings about Give My Regards to Broad Street, but not so much about No More Lonely Nights. Here's what they were saying in 1984. Billboard called it a majestic ballad with classic McCartney phrasing and emotional weight. Rolling Stone praised Gilmour's guitar work and noted it had more soul than the film deserved. NME, however, while acknowledging the song's strength, criticised it as being safe and a bit too polished and middle of the road. But over time, the track has gained respect. In fact, many retrospective reviews rank it amongst the best ballads of Paul's solo career, right up there with Maybe I'm Amazed and My Love. Despite its success, No More Lonely Nights has rarely appeared in McCartney's live sets. He hasn't performed it in concert for a very long time, as far as I can recall. Still, it remains a fan favourite and has racked up millions of streams across platforms. Fans often say it's the perfect late-night McCartney track, wistful, melodic and hopeful. And with Gilmour's guitar, it truly bridges Beatles-style emotion with 1980s rock sophistication. So, is No More Lonely Nights one of Paul's most underrated singles? I think it just might be. Can you name a better 7-inch single that Paul has released since then? A heartfelt vocal, a world-class solo and a chorus that stays with you. This track proves that even in the midst of a difficult project, Paul could still produce the magic. What do you think of No More Lonely Nights? Is it one of your favourites? Have you got the 7-inch or one of the dance remixes? Have you even got the mole mix? Drop a comment below and hit that like button and subscribe for more Beatles deep dives every week. I look forward to seeing you next time, but until then, it's bye for now.